This is the round 4 for NCL game, and the second game in the weekend I just played in, which was last weekend now. And this is the game after the one against Mark Adams, which I video annotated a couple of days ago. So this is on Sunday, and what's really funny is that I have a much better record on Sunday, which you think is pretty strange. Because you think on Saturday, alright, you've had to get up early and travel quite a while, but you're quite refreshed generally. But on Sunday, Saturday night, you like to have fun and that, so therefore it can mess you up for Sunday. And also you tend to go to bed really late, and you have to get up early. And the breakfast I usually just stuff my face with all the fatty stuff, which probably doesn't help. And the game starts as early as 11, so you think surprising that I've never won a game on Saturday, but I've won a lot on Sunday. But anyway, here's my it's just weird start. I've never won a game before until on Saturday. I need to end that one soon, hopefully the next weekend. But that's like a 4-hour drive, or at least, before we actually get there, so that's probably not going to happen. Anyway, I'm playing against Andrew Hurd, who's 19, 30 years old, but he was like me, he's converted because he hasn't got a fee day. He used to have one, which is, he was over 2,000 he's been, so it's going to be a tough game. My grade is, his grade was 160. Mine's 141 as we know, and 1778 converted, so 19 points low rated, and I'm black. And for my preparation as well, I had a look at some of his games, and as white he's played d4, e4, c4 and knight f3, all on a pretty much the same level, although he's tended not to play e4 much, so I expected probably d4. So we was actually playing in this room, like with the other teams near rock bottom at 3rd division, and the other room next to it was like the top of the 1st division, so you can see, like, I saw Nigel Short before the game complaining about the piece sizes, and I went in a lot to have a look at them play. And it was Short versus Howell on board 1, and our very own Stephen Gordon against French number 1 on board 2, so it was pretty exciting stuff. Anyway, we'll go on to the game now. This is 3C2 versus SCS. I'm sure you saw my game against William Swain in the same team, and I was playing quite a lot stronger player than him this time. I 160 as black. He opened with d4. I played e6 to avoid the Tromposki. c4, knight f6, knight c3 and bishop b4, which is my return to the Nimzo after a couple of months of not playing it, which is a very solid opening which I very rarely lose with, only once in fact, and that was a long game, so I've never actually been smashed. No one ever smashes me as white against the Nimzo. So anyway, I'm sure you know we want to fight over the e4 square, get our pieces out quick, and it's a very good opening that practically all the world champions have played at some point, like Karpov specialised in it, and Fischer's known to play it a couple of times. And it's just a brilliant opening. Nigel Short, I think, plays it sometimes. But anyway, a3, which is the Siamese variation, but we actually transposed to a Rubenstein. After bishop takes c3 check, b takes c3. You see typical Nimzo imbalance, doubled pawns against bishop pair, and stronger centre, and more space against faster development. A bit like a French winnower. b6, a typical Roman Dishniashvili line, and now one of the lines in his book which I've been studying is f3, preparing e4, which will be a Siamish. After bishop a6, the extending finish out to try and hack c4 off the board. e4, knight c6, e5, knight g8, knight h3, knight a5, attacking it, queen a4 and queen c8, which is a very strong positional insight where black's going to try and win c4 via moving his queen to c6. And you see that white's got a very strong centre, but his c4 pawn is a constant liability, and this gives about equal chances. Well, I kind of prefer black in these lines. So he plays e3, transposing to Rubenstein after bishop a6. c5 is an alternative. Bishop a6, bishop d3, and now knight c6. You see, I'm actually playing it quite similar to how you would against a Siamese. I'm not sure if that's entirely correct, but it's quite a sound strategy, just to try and hack c4 off the board. c5 again was an alternative, of course. Knight f3, knight a5, and now an alternative for him was queen e2, d5, cd, bishop d, queen d, and e takes d5. We have a typical Nimzo Indian battle where I think black's always slightly better because he's got a massive grip on the white squares held by this pawn, and white's bishop is going to find it hard to find a role. The only real way though is a4 and bishop a3. but black's raking knight, so going to give him good chances. So he plays knight d2, also frees away with the f pawn. And I rolled the move queen c8, which I'm not sure is entirely correct, because in this position, it's one of them mistakes where you see an idea in a book and you think it's applied to all positions. Because I was still thinking it was a Simish, I'd forgot it was a Rubenstein transposition to the 4 dot 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 b6 line. But queen c8 actually is still good in this position. Maybe get a tempo queen b7. An alternative was the immediate d5. This can actually sometimes be controversial in this line because you give white the opportunity to get rid of the double pawns, but the grip you get on the light square seems to be quite nice. So queen e2, d2, and then you take everything off. And then you play queen d5. And after queen takes, e takes, f3. Black's grip on the light squares is counteracted by white's potentially strong bishop. But I think black's knight is potentially stronger than the bishop. But overall, this endgame is probably going to be a draw. So that would be a rather dire, dry line that to play, but I didn't really look at it. I just went queen c8 quite fast. After queen e2, and now I played d5, trying to get a light squared grip. And instead of taking, he had an interesting option in a4, which is an idea you see a lot in the Winner with French, where white goes a4 and bishop a3 to activate the dark squared bishop, because the potential match winner is a bishop which your opponent hasn't got. So getting to Nimzo, if white can find a good role for his dark squared bishop, then it's usually much better. Although this isn't one of the cases, although it's still a good position for white, I'd say, after everything comes off. And then castles. But again, black's knight's got some very good squares available, like d5 and e4, so white hasn't really got any advantage. C takes d5, bishop takes d3, queen takes d3, and e takes d5, preparing light square domination. And you're probably wondering why he castles and doesn't play e4 or c4 to try and get rid of some of these outposts that this d5 pawn's creating. Well, e4 is met by the annoying move queen g4, which hits 2 pawns. And c4 is met by the annoying move queen a6, which hits the pawn again and pins white's queen. So they're both unplayable at the moment. So he castles to get out of any of them tricks, and well, not quite yet, but I castle, and now he goes bishop b2, just to try and get his bishop on the diagonal. It might do something. And now I play a very good move in queen e6, which is my first long think of the game after bashing out. The first 30 moves I played in about 10 minutes, but I thought 13 minutes here. And this is a very good move, this, because it's keeping white's bishop bad, because c4 and e4 now can't be played, and that bishop is stuck behind the wall of pawns. And my target and strategy in this game is to try and get a good knight versus bad bishop ending. And I was feeling that even if I go on to lose this game, because after all he's a lot higher rated than me, at least I'm putting up a good fight, and I'm not going to lose in 21 moves. And I've even got trying to try and win this game, try and get a good knight against bad bishop endgame. It's so amazing when you can play with a plan. But he has a plan as well, kingside domination and central domination. He plays f3, preparing e4. And now I thought, actually, this isn't too great. And I went from 1 hour 37 minutes all the way down to 36 minutes. I spent a full 61 minutes on this next move, which of course I got told off for afterwards. Now, of course that is very risky, that spending 61 minutes on one move. I mean, that's more than half the time which you get. And I was only really looking at one move as well, which is the move b5. It's not so much calculating that the pawn cannot be safely taken, it's more the fact that it's a resultant position favourable for me, or at least equal, and I was actually correct. I think this is an interesting move and quite a good move as well. My opponent said he underestimated. So let's look at some of the ideas behind it. If he takes the pawn, first of all, that is obviously clearly bad. I can either go queen takes e3 check, which I didn't do because I thought rook f2 was strong, but then after rook b8, queen takes, rook takes, c4, exposing defences like the only move, and I should take the d4 pawn, and going to be at least a couple pawns up. So that's unplayable. However, the stronger move, which I was going to play, is rook a b8. I'd calculate queen takes a5, queen takes e3 check. If king h1, then we take the bishop off, the knight moves back to b1, and then rook e8 is what the main line had calculated, which assessed as, although it's equal material, I assessed it's crushing for black because white's pawn's well weak, the knight is stuck on back rank, and white's queen is horribly offside. And once that knight comes into the game, say via f5, h5 to f4, then it's game over. So rook f2, and then I calculated rook takes b2, he has to play c4, and then drops d4 again. He transposes the last line. So that's I think his best move was rook a1, and after knight c4, which I was going to play just to retreat the bishop to c1 and play e4 and liberate it with a bit equal chances, because black's knights are getting good squares to even out, and white's pawns are a bit weak on queenside. Another idea behind it was if white plays e4, I drop a knight in on c4, and after knight takes c4, I could throw in maybe d takes e4, f takes e4, b takes c4, queen moves, and knight takes e4, winning a pawn. So e4, knight c4, knight takes c4, and also looked at b takes c4, e takes d5, and I was going to play queen takes d5, but after something like queen c2, it actually isn't that good for black. So actually I should have played it, which I thought was bad if I'd got to this position, is c takes d3, d takes e6, and now you don't take back the pawn, which I was going to do, and I thought that I had weak pawns then. You throw rook a b8, and after e takes f7, king takes f7, bishop moves, and rook b3, black has got a very strong initiative in return for pawn. He's going to win it back actually pretty soon, and they'll have the advantage with this dangerous potential past d3 pawn. So I looked at quite a lot of stuff in this 1 hour 1 minute thing. I mean, I wasn't thinking solidly for 1 hour 1 minute, I'll admit. I was thinking like what I'm going to have for dinner as well at some point, but my thinking has slowed down a bit. But I think it was a wise 61 minutes spent. I bashed out the opening, and I had 36 minutes for 24 moves, but I'd already formulated quite a few of the moves. I played the next few moves quite fast to try and avoid getting time pressure, because there is a good chance this game could go to a long drawn out endgame, but if I can survive the time control without any serious concessions, then I'll have another hour then for 20 moves. But I'll put an end to my 61 minute things because I've got 60 minutes. Anyway, he plays rook fe1, which is basically using the wrong rook and probably gives black an advantage. And after knight c4, he took almost immediately. However, he should have maybe considered bishop c1, because his bishop is actually getting liberated by force, because I can't keep e4 out forever. I knew I wouldn't be able to prevent e4 when I played f3 and was calculating b5. When I b5, I was like calculating where's my queenside counterplay coming from, can I get enough, because he's going to get the centre at kingside, I need the queenside. I mean, it's risky stuff, this blocking up the queenside, because there's a game between Botvinnik and Capablanca played in 1930s where Capablanca blocks up the queenside with c4 and wins a pawn, but he just gets hacked on the kingside, and it's that bishop a3 double exclamation mark move that I may do a video at some point, or at least do the actual combination for you to see it. It's just beautiful. But he should have maybe played bishop c1, and if I chop c6, c4, 6 takes rook f8, probably very equal this, but you see white's bishop is now in the game now. He plays knight takes c4, after b takes c4, which I'd looked at. I realised that I'm going to get some pressure again on the b file against white's pawns. I'm also getting the tempo on his queen, but I have double my c pawns, and this bishop is actually getting into the game by force. But anyway, or is it? Anyway, he plays queen c2. I play rook f to e8. Now I can't, like I said, I can't keep it with e4 forever, but I can delay it enough. If I play rook f8, I force him to play rook e2 and rook e1, and then I can use the time to double on b file, or treble even. It's going to be a race basically. I'm going to try and win pawns on the queen side, and he's going to try and break through in centre, liberate his bishop, and maybe start an attack on my king. Because I'm going to be riskily moving my pieces away, which I calculate was probably safe to do in that 61 minutes. So he plays rook e2. He could have got his bishop into the game via a4, which cuts through right to my king side as well, which would have been annoying. I'm surprised he didn't consider that. He didn't even mention it in post-mortem, and I didn't really mention it, even though I'm used to positions like that. Rook e2. Now I've switched the rook to b8, and now you see the treble is going to be played. So after rook a1, I could have. The thing is, going back, even if I played rook e7 and rook e8, then I'm not going to get any counter plays. Just trying to be prophylactic, and he'll find some way to get the piece in. So rook a b8, rook a e1, and now rook b3, and now of course e4 came, and I took, which was best. If I just ignore it and play rook e b8, then some problems with e takes d5, queen takes d5, and rook e5 is very strong for white. If queen d6, then bishop c1, recycling the bishop to a more active post on king side. Rook f8, rook e5, knight takes, and then rook e8, now h5, clearing the path for queen, but king side, but this looks quite good for white, this, with attacking chances on, well, his pieces are menacingly pointing towards my king, so I wouldn't like this. So I took, and after f takes e4, we see that you can go bishop c1 and e5 and get a massive attack on my king going. So I started to feel a bit uneasy. I went queen b6, I did this before rook b8 because I wanted to pin his d pawn, stop it advancing, and I feel like I'm going d5, he could then go e5 as well if his pawn could be protected, steamroller me. Because once he goes e5, he opens his queen up as well, and grabs space. He goes rook f1, preparing maybe exchange sacks and f6 if I move my queen away. I go rook b8, and my plan is I actually was quite happy at this point because I'm threatening his bishop, and but actually the move which I thought was unplayable he could have played, which is bishop c1 double exclamation mark. I thought this was unplayable because of queen a5 hitting c3 twice and also hitting a3 with his plays bishop d2. I thought this was crushing. However, it's refuted by e5, rook takes c3, now queen f5. You see the f5 square has now been cleared for the queen, and all white's pieces are like mentally pointing at my king, and the pieces are on queen side and can't do anything. In fact, they have to toss away a piece according to my analytical assistant. With queen d5, bishop moves, check. And in fact, after this Houdini line, I've got 4 pawns for a piece, but look how bad they are. I mean, usually it's white who suffers in the bad pawn structure at Nimzo, but I think it's black who's got it here. Got double C pawns, double F pawns, and isolated A and H pawns, and double pawns are all isolated as well. I haven't noticed any drop off. They're all like low hanging fruit ready to be plucked. So rook e3. Rook e3 is an alternative, just protecting the pawn. But I don't think see what white achieves, although he can do his rook left at king side. So this will also be quite strong. But queen a5 was unplayable. So black has to find something else after bishop c1, but now white's bishop's coming into the game and things can get messy. But Houdini still thinks black's fine. But he plays e5. And now I had 2 options here. I can either swap everything off into a drawish looking endgame where I'm going to be a pawn up but not have any hope of winning. Or I can try and keep pieces on with knight d5 and try and win more, but when if I play knight d5, which I didn't do, I bottled it, I'm like moving pieces away from my king. I mean, look now, all the pieces are on queen side, and all these pieces on king side are gonna be. And now first of all, queen f5 is easily answered by queen e6, and now c3 is probably going to drop next move. If he defends passively rook b1, then I can just play well, I was going to play rook takes a3, exploiting the pin, but knight f4 is immediately winning. He's coming into d3 and it's game over. So he has to do something aggressive, and the correct move, which I mean, knight d5 is better for black, but white does seem to get counterplayed with queen e4, centralising. And now also attacks the knight, and so if he takes bishop, then he can take the rook and then take the knight. And then he's attacking f7. Queen e6 defending it, and now bishop a1 sacrificing a3. Take it, and after rook ef2, the best move given actually is to ignore it all and play a5, because when you've got an extra pawn, you need to make his presence felt, and that does that. And now it's going to be a race between black's passed a pawn and white's kingside counterplay, but this looks actually quite good for black because white's bishop is completely dead, so he's basically playing the piece behind, and that pawn is awkward to stop, but black's going to find it hard to move pieces away to support it because they're all tied down to kingside because f7's weak and everything. But I fancied my chances and black's chances here, that's definite. So I bottled a good winning chance there and played rook takes b2, and everything comes off. And I saw I did move rook b3 at the end of it, winning a pawn. But you got to remember, I've got double pawns, and he can also inflict double pawns onto my force as well. Because he goes rook e1, threatening mate and setting a nasty trap actually, which I'll explain in a minute. Rook f5 is an alternative. G takes rook a5, but this is similar to the game. In fact, it's practically the same as the game. Now rook e1 threatens mate, but also sets a nasty trap. If I play king f8, then can you spot a win for white? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. White can actually queen his pawn with the rook sacrifice, and there's no stopping that pawn because my rook can't get back to it. So that was a nasty trap. An alternative to taking the pawn, which I did, was to give the king a flight square. So I have to check, and now he gets and now we've got actually a messy position where while black isn't up a pawn and has to face an outside pass pawn, so this may even be better for white. So I did right and took the pawn off. Now he plays rook e7, and now he's got a counter play with his rook on the 7th, which compensates for the missing pawn. And now I played rook takes a3, and now he took on c7, but maybe he could have played d5. Rook takes c3, rook takes c7, a5, and king f2. And it's going to be black's 2 queenside passes versus white's central pass d pawn, which is very dangerous, and queening with check. It's the most dangerous of the 3 pawns, but at the end of the day black has got an extra pawn, so this, and 2 pawns, so this was quite strong. So he does best and takes on c7, rook takes c3, rook takes a7, rook d3, which is attacking his d pawn and clearing away from my c pawn. I play rook d7, and now I missed a good winning chance now with rook d2. Just cuts his king off, because cutting the king off is a very important technique in endgames, especially rook endgames. And this is a good winning try. I mean, it don't quite win, but he has to find moves like rook c7, rook takes d4, king f2. So basically, to get his king in to save the game, he has to ditch front. He has to like bin another pawn, which he might find hard to do, because he is a human player after all. He's not a grandmaster. I mean, this is actually drawing this position practically. Even though I've got an extra pawn, the c pawn is probably going to get rounded up, and then we're going to have that problem where I've got an extra pawn but it's doubled and they're on the same side. But if you don't find rook c7, he practically loses. So that's quite interesting. I play c3, just advancing the pawn closer, but after king f2 his king's betting back in time. I play c2, rook c7 box, and now I throw in this check, just hoping he blunders. First of all, king e1, rook d1 wins. King g3 is another move to a draw. An interesting move actually, which also draws, it seems to do, is king e3, which drops g2, but after rook c8 check, king g7, d5, pushing the pawn, rook takes h2, so black is temporarily 3 pawns up. But now this d6, this d pawn is almost queening, and black can't get to d2 because the king's on it. So rook h1, and now white can take the c2 pawn, rook d1, and now check. Now rook h2, black has to take it, and then we're taking h7. After king e7, this is actually a theoretical draw. I think it is anyway, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure the f pawn's a draw even if there's 2 pawns, because it's too far back and was doubled. But I'm not 1,000,000% sure. Complex. But this is just a complicated line, but it's unnecessary complications. King f3, easy draw. King f8, you see these random pointless moves. I then hack his pawn off and offer him a draw, which accepts because I'm pawned up, but they're on the same side. And I actually didn't really get in time pressure. This is move 37, and I went just below 3 minutes, and I could easily make moves to get time back. So I did. So 61 minute thing wasn't too costly in the end. But anyway, it's a pretty interesting game. This I found. It's a good draw against a high rated player as black as well, but I'm stronger as black, so it cancels it out. And as far as the team's concerned, we actually lost in the end. We didn't get leveled like an SCS Sofa in the end. We only just lost. Yeah, we should be beating them really. But it was a weakened team. But everyone did a good effort this weekend. Proud of you all. I mean, we lost both our games again, but we did good in the end. This is an interesting game with many instructive points, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did playing it. Except the 61-minute thing was a bit headbanging. But anyway, please like the video and subscribe to the channel, and please leave any comments and thoughts. Thanks very much.